As for the disruptive things you can dump with Beatrice on their turns, the Alec. Now Alec isn't too good against most matchups. It can stop a tin can, unlike Fafa, because Fafa says until the end phase, and Alec says until the end of the turn. So Alec can stop tin cans, Fafa cannot stop tin cans. But Alec's main purpose comes up in the Monarch matchup, since you chain Beatrice to Idea, and Alec would negate the idols if you know your chain links, and I won't get into too much details on that. Now, Alec and Fafa are also additional tribute fodder for Overdrive Teleporter, since you can just special summon it if you draw it and tribute it off. So that's another neat interaction. But yeah, Alec, Fafa, Shadow Dragon. The main three things you would want to dump on your opponent's turn to disrupt their plays. Blaze Accelerated Reload. Doesn't matter if you dump it on your turn or your opponent's turn, you can banish it whenever you want in either player's main phase and drop your triple scatter shots. It sucks if you draw the scatter shots, just like the Rise Bells, just like the Gust of Winder, just like the Gem Knight Lazuli. Now, I was running triple Magic Mullet. I mean, they were doing what they were supposed to do, neg-1ing your brick hands into pretty good hands, shuffling back your Lazulis, shuffling back your scatter shots, which you never ever want into your hand, so you can't really say that it's a -1 play if you're shuffling a card such as Scattershot back into the deck, which is a guaranteed -1 in your hand anyways. But yeah, that's just something else to consider. I just end up not running it. 1500 burn, definitely very relevant since triple Beatrice only adds up to 7.5. When you add in the additional 1.5, it's 9000 damage, easily enough for game. One of the main OTK plays of the deck. Yeah, just chainable or semi-chainable nuking. You know, you can nuke all of their monsters whenever you want, especially when you have Dweller up for those floating type decks, is the main unfair play of this deck. Oh, and also if you E-tally the Rise Bell, you could also make their monsters gain some levels, which could disrupt some Exceed or Synchro plays, but that never came up. In deck, I have 3 Max C. This was a pretty last minute decision. I just didn't want to completely lose if I lose the dice roll and go second and they open good. I just wanted the Max C for those situations, and it came up quite a few times after like turn 1 after losing the dice roll. So it worked out for me. Unfortunately, I did wish I ran the Constellar Ptolemy M7 quite a few times, you know, just to recycle the Maxi after you drop it, they special once and stop. But I didn't open that well, but could make a M7. You know, that did come up sometimes, just to bounce the Maxi back into my hand so I could keep them at a slow state where they have to either unbrick my hand by special summoning or unbrick my hand by top decking, since they just pass without doing anything because I have the Maxi. Because 1 Soul Charge, 1 Foolish. Foolish is very versatile. You know, it could get you combo pieces such as Malicious and Soul Kiss, or it could break through opposing fields by sending stuff like Fafa or Shadow Dragon. So a very versatile card. Yeah. The Soul Charge, almost every time you draw this, you know, you're going to change your brick hands into a decent hand. You're going to change your decent hands into triple Beatrice hands, and you're going to turn your triple Beatrice hands into the nuts. So yeah. And great recovery card. Too bad I only drew it once throughout the whole day, which is pretty scary to think about. And I didn't even resolve it because that game I just opened the nuts and just kill them with the other 5 cards I had in the hand. Yeah, one more thing I forgot to talk about is probably the Rice Bells. Now, I did mention that they can adjust their levels by up to 3, which means you could also make these things level 4 for the Dweller plays. Oh, and also, if you e-tally the Rice Bell, you could also make their monsters gain some levels, which could disrupt some Exceed or Synchro plays, but that never came up. The side deck, I'm siding pretty heavily for the Cosmos, since they are my worst matchup. As you can see, I only have 1 out in the whole entire main deck to the Cosmo ships. So yeah, definitely siding them more. Now the first 3 is the 1 core, 1 dragon, and 1 Chimeric Fortress. Core you can drop into the graveyard with Beatrice, and you can banish it later to summon the Cyber Dragon from your deck and Chimeric them. The reason I'm not running double core and I'm running a Cyber Dragon is because core does not count as a Cyber Dragon when you equip it to Insect the Exabeetle, which I also side in for the Cosmo matchup. Now, not only does Exabeetle send cards, so you could send their Cosmo Town and they don't get a search, which I did once that day. If you equip Cyber Dragon to Exabeetle, you can contact Fuse for Chimeric Fortress Dragon, since Fortress Dragon says you can only special summon this card from your extra deck by sending the above cards from either side of the field to the graveyard. So, not monsters, but cards on either side of the field. So, you could contact Fuse for Fortress with an equipped Cyber Dragon, which I also pulled off once that day. The other 2 cards I side for Cosmos, well, actually, depending on how trap heavy they are, I would side in the Twin Twisters as well. Yeah, Twin Twister has a lot of good general uses. It also unclogs your hand if you draw your Malicious or your Carbonitons. Or, you know, this deck has a lot of things that you don't want in your hand to discard with Twin Twisters and Fable Soul Kisses. So yeah. But yeah, the other 2 cards I side is the 1 Heretic Dragon King of the Tomb and the 1 Quackimary Drago. Similar uses to Dweller, except instead of 2 level 4s, which might sometimes be too hard to get, you can summon 2 level 6 dragons fairly easily. And you just put your Blaze Accelerated Reload in the graveyard, summon your Atom. Atom effect summons out the Quackimary Drago. You know, same story as Dweller. You just nuke their field and they can't float into anything because the Quackimary Drago stops light and darks from summoning, and obviously all the ships and pilots are light and dark. I didn't pull this off, but I did open this guy once, and I just normal summoned it against the Cosmo opponent and beat them down to death. So I guess that kind of worked out as intended. Maybe not. Now, against Monarchs, I'm not really siding anything specific, just because I don't see Domain as that big of a threat, since I have a lot of level 6s and a lot of tribute fodder. So if I just tribute summon, Domain gets shut off, and I could spam from the extra deck anyways. Yeah, for the Burning Abyss, I'm siding the 3. 1 Ciphering Lord Omega, 1 Tackle Crusader, 1 Mischief of the Gnomes. Yeah, Tackle Crusader, pretty self-explanatory against the BA. Mischief of the Gnomes and Ciphering Lord Omega kind of goes together, because if you can summon first turn Beatrice and Omega, Beatrice can drop the Mischief of the Gnomes into the graveyard, On their draw phase, you banish the Mischief of the Gnomes, decreasing the level of all monsters in their hand by 1. And on their standby phase, you can use the Omega to put the Mischief of the Gnomes back into the graveyard. And then in the main phase, Omega can banish 1 further card from their hand. You know, you just repeat this loop every time it's their turn. You just banish the gnomes, put the gnomes back, banish the gnomes, put the gnomes back, so that you know, you just infinitely spam the gnomes so that they can never really get any of their rank 3 plays going. And yeah, I pulled this off quite a few times against BA or BA PKs on the day. Pretty good combo. The final 3 cards, triple Manticore of Darkness. I would side this in game 2 or game 3, only if I go first, since if you go second, Maxi isn't really a problem. This is really only there to deck people out if they Maxi you. Now, if you have one of these in your hand, all you need to do is make a Beatrice. In phase, Beatrice sends a Manticore to the graveyard. You can send Manticore to the graveyard to summon the other Manticore in the graveyard, because it's a Beast Warrior. And then you can send the one on the field to the graveyard to summon the other one in the graveyard. And you could just keep looping it. And they get decked out during your end phase. I pulled it off once, and it was pretty funny. I rate it 1.8 out of 10 Woodside again. It's much harder to pull off if you didn't open these. Now what you need to do is have, you know, one of your wing beasts in your hand, such as Zephyros or something, and summon double Beatrice. Well, have double Beatrice dumps, and then dump both with Beatrices, and then tribute off the wing beast in your hand to get the loop going. That's obviously much harder, and it's even harder if you didn't open and wing beast as well. In which case you would need triple Beatrice without actually using the Beatrices to make another Beatrice, because you are going to be able to have the ability to dump 2 Manticores and a Harpy Harpist, which is the reason why I wanted to side the Harpy Harpist, but since I ran out of side deck space, I'm maining it. And Harpy Harpist at the end phase is going to get your Ducks to your hand, and the Ducks is going to be the one that starts off the Manticore loop. So yeah, it gets harder and harder to get the Manticore loop going. Obviously, the easiest being you actually opening the Manticore. Now, one thing that I did forget to put in this deck, because I kind of made this deck on the morning of the event, is that I would really have liked to have run the Trick Clown. Yeah, Trick Clown just allows me to make Dweller that much more easier, and directly with Beatrice's effect, instead of having to rely on drawing the instant fusion. Also, Trick Clown would turn Foolish Burial into a tribute fodder for Overdrive Teleporter. I think I had to Foolish Burial for Soul Kiss one or two times for the tribute fodder for Overdrive Teleporter, which is obviously a neg 2, which could have been avoided if I had the Trick Clown. Yeah, that would be the main change I would make to the main deck. So that's the deck with every card choice explained. After this video, I guess I'm going to show you guys a couple of 2-card Beatrice combos, and I'll see you there. Alright, so for the first 2-card Beatrice combo is going to be Ravine Zephyros, and you don't need any additional cards in your hand. All you need to do is activate the Ravine, discard the Zephyros to get a search. The card you would search would be Dragunity Phalanx. Bounce your Ravine to hand to special summon the Zephyros, take 400, activate Ravine again, discard the Dragunity Phalanx to search your Dragunity Ducks. Next up, you want to normal summon your Dragunity Ducks, equip your Dragunity Phalanx, special the Phalanx. Synchro summon for Dragunity Knight Badriana, equip the Phalanx, special the Phalanx, and then Synchro for Dragunity Knight Gaydarg. Gaydarg is going to activate, you add Griffin to your hand and then discard the Griffin. Triggering Griffin to special summon Wundar from your deck. Next up, you make the first Beatrice. Beatrice is going to drop to the graveyard the Malicious. Malicious for Malicious. And here is your second Beatrice. Detach the Malicious. It's pretty important that you detach the Malicious, not the other one. Put the Carbonaden in your graveyard. Banish the Carbonaden. Summon your level 6 Vanilla Dragon. Banish your Malicious. Summon your Malicious. Overlay your Maliciouses for Beatrice. And that's a triple Beatrice combo. And you can drop something on your turn, such as the Blaze Accelerator Reload. Now the next 2-card Beatrice combo is one of the only things in this deck that I actually grabbed from a fellow user on a forum. And that's Instant Ravine. But you do need 2 random cards to discard. So just say, for example, we open something like this. You're going to activate the Ravine. Ravine to send Phalanx to the graveyard. Next up, you're going to Instant Fusion for Norden. Norden brings back the Phalanx. Synchro for Duloran. Duloran's going to bounce the Ravine. You can activate Ravine again. Discard a card. Grab the Ducks. Normal the Ducks. Equip the Phalanx. Special the Phalanx. Synchro for Dragunity Knight Gaydarg. Gaydarg is going to add the Griffin, dump the Griffin, special the Wundar. Now it should all look very familiar to you guys right now. First Beatrice. Drop the Malicious, Malicious for Malicious, which is really delicious. That was pretty bad. Beatrice, detach the Malicious and the Carbonaden. Banish your Malicious and the Carbonaden for Malicious and Wattail. And that gives your third Beatrice. Again, you can put your Blaze Accelerator Reload in there. So technically not 2 cards, but it's 2 specific cards and 2 any cards, which makes it pretty 2-card-ish. It's 2-card enough for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope we all learned something from this profile. And I'm Ny3. See ya.